This is a COMEX warehouse receipt, a piece of paper that represents 1,000 ounces of silver sitting in an approved vault in New York or Delaware. This receipt is supposed to be the foundation of the silver futures market, the proof that behind every paper contract, there's real metal available for delivery. The receipt says the silver exists. The receipt says it's there. 3 years ago, COMEX warehouses held 394 million ounces of registered silver, metal explicitly available for delivery against futures contracts. That number was stable. It had been stable for years. The silver sat in vaults, backing the paper market, providing the liquidity that allowed the world's largest futures exchange to function. As of yesterday's close, COMEX registered silver inventory stands at 31.2 million ounces. 420 million ounces have vanished. Not moved to eligible status, actually gone. Withdrawn from COMEX warehouses entirely, shipped out, taken delivery of, removed from the system that the entire paper-silver market depends on. This isn't a drawdown. This isn't normal market function. This is an 89% collapse in deliverable inventory that has happened in plain sight, reported daily in COMEX warehouse reports that almost nobody reads, while the financial media focuses on spot prices and mining stocks and everything except the physical foundation that's disappearing beneath the market. The receipts still exist. The contracts still trade. The prices still quote. But the silver that was supposed to back those receipts is gone. And when paper claims exceed physical supply by a factor of 30 to 1, someone is going to discover that their claim cannot be honored. The crisis isn't coming. The crisis is here. We're just waiting for the market to notice. Here's what they're not telling you. COMEX inventory data is published every business day. It's free. Anyone can access it. The numbers are right there. Registered ounces, eligible ounces, total ounces, daily changes. The collapse has been documented in real time for 3 years. Let me walk you through the timeline. January 2022. Registered silver at 89.2 million ounces. This was already down from the 2021 peak of 152 million ounces, but the decline seemed manageable, normal market fluctuation. January 2023. Registered silver at 41.7 million ounces, a 53% decline in 1 year. The drawdown accelerated after March 2023, when the regional banking crisis triggered a flight to physical assets. Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. Signature Bank collapsed. Depositors who had trusted paper promises decided they wanted something tangible. January 2024. Registered silver at 28.4 million ounces. The decline continued despite higher prices that should have incentivized holders to sell. The metal kept leaving. Delivery demands kept arriving. The inventory kept shrinking. January 2025. Registered silver at 31.8 million ounces. A slight increase from the 2024 low, but that increase masks what happened in total inventory. While registered silver stabilized briefly, eligible silver, metal stored in COMEX vaults but not available for delivery, collapsed from 256 million ounces to 147 million ounces. And now, January 2026, registered at 31.2 million ounces, eligible at 89.4 million ounces. Total COMEX silver inventory, 120.6 million ounces. 3 years ago, total inventory was 394 million ounces. Today, 120.6 million ounces. The difference, 273.4 million ounces, physically left COMEX warehouses. An additional 147 million ounces moved from eligible to withdrawn or transferred to other storage. The combined outflow, 420 million ounces. Where did it go? That's the question the COMEX data doesn't answer. When silver leaves a COMEX warehouse, the exchange reports the departure, but not the destination. The metal could be moving to private vaults. It could be shipping to refiners for fabrication. It could be heading to Asia, where demand for physical silver has exploded. It could be going anywhere. What we know is that it's not coming back. The entities withdrawing silver from COMEX aren't traders taking delivery to flip for profit. If they were, the metal would return when prices made selling attractive. Prices have risen 180% since 2022. The metal hasn't returned. It's being held, or consumed, by entities that have no intention of returning it to the exchange system. This is where the lie becomes unsustainable. To understand why 31.2 million ounces of registered silver creates a systemic crisis, you need to understand how large the paper claims against that metal actually are. The COMEX silver futures market currently has open interest of 847 million ounces. That's 847 million ounces of paper contracts, promises to deliver or accept silver at future dates, backed by 31.2 million ounces of deliverable metal. The ratio is 27.1 to 1. For every ounce of silver available for delivery, there are 27 ounces of paper claims. But that's just COMEX. The London Bullion Market Association operates a parallel system of unallocated accounts and forward contracts. LBMA doesn't publish inventory data, a deliberate opacity that the industry has maintained for decades, but estimates based on vault flows and trading volumes suggest London holds another 800 to 900 million ounces of paper claims. Add exchange-traded funds. SLV alone claims to hold 450 million ounces, though it reserves the right to settle in cash under certain circumstances. PSLV holds 180 million ounces in allocated storage. Smaller ETFs add another 120 million ounces of claims. Add unallocated accounts at bullion banks. Add forward contracts between miners and refiners. Add over-the-counter derivatives that don't appear on any exchange. The total paper-silver market, all claims combined, exceeds 3 billion ounces. Global above-ground silver inventory is approximately 1.8 billion ounces. Much of that is in jewelry, silverware, and religious artifacts that will never enter the investment market. Liquid, available silver, metal that could actually satisfy delivery demands, is perhaps 600 million ounces globally. 3 billion ounces of claims against 600 million ounces of available metal. 5 claims for every ounce that exists. And the COMEX portion of that metal, the 31.2 million ounces that's supposed to anchor the world's primary silver futures exchange, represents 5% of the available supply, backing claims that denominate in the hundreds of millions. The system functions because most claims never demand delivery. Futures traders close positions before expiration. ETF holders sell shares rather than redeeming for metal. Unallocated account holders trust that the metal exists without verifying. The fractional reserve system works as long as confidence holds. When confidence breaks, when enough participants simultaneously demand delivery, the math becomes impossible. There isn't enough silver to satisfy even a fraction of the claims. At 3:47 a.m. Eastern on Thursday, the COMEX reported that standing delivery notices for the January contract reached 24.7 million ounces. 24.7 million ounces of delivery demands against 31.2 million of registered inventory. If the January demands are satisfied, registered inventory falls to 6.5 million ounces. At 6.5 million ounces, the COMEX becomes functionally unable to operate as a physical delivery market. The February contract has open interest, implying potential delivery demands of 31 million ounces. March shows 47 million. The demands in the queue exceed what remains even after January depletes most of what's left. When exchanges run out of inventory, they change the rules. They settle in cash instead of metal. They declare force majeure. They implement position limits that force longs to liquidate. They do whatever is necessary to prevent the market from discovering what happens when paper claims meet physical reality. The rule changes are coming. The question is what happens to price when they arrive. When paper markets fail to deliver, physical markets reprice everything. The historical precedent is the London gold pool collapse of 1968. Central banks had maintained a fixed gold price of $35 per ounce through coordinated selling. When their inventory ran low, when the selling pressure exceeded their ability to supply, the pool collapsed. Gold repriced from $35 to $850 over the following 12 years, a 24x increase. The silver market in 1980 provides another precedent. The Hunt Brothers accumulation campaign exposed the same fractional reserve dynamics that exist today. When delivery demands exceeded available supply, silver spiked from $6 to $50 in months. The exchange changed the rules, prohibited new buying, forced liquidations, and the price collapsed. But the price collapse required exchange intervention. Without intervention, the price would have continued rising until supply met demand. Today's situation is more severe than 1980. The Hunts were attempting to corner a market that was relatively well supplied. Today, the market is already in deficit. Industrial demand from solar panels, electronics, and medical devices consumes 680 million ounces annually against mine supply of 820 million ounces that's declining due to underinvestment. The supply-demand fundamentals support higher prices independent of any squeeze dynamic. Less than 45 days remain before the March contract delivery period begins. The March contract is historically the highest volume delivery month. If delivery demands follow the pattern established in recent months, increasing month over month as participants lose confidence in paper settlement, March could see standing notices exceeding 60 million ounces. Against 31.2 million ounces of current registered inventory, and potentially less than 10 million after January and February deliveries, 60 million ounces of demands creates a crisis that cannot be papered over with rule changes. Either the metal appears from somewhere, or the market admits that paper silver and physical silver are no longer the same thing. While one side drains inventory, the other side stands for delivery. The entities removing silver from COMEX aren't anonymous traders. Delivery data shows concentration in a small number of large accounts. At 11:30 a.m. New York time on Wednesday, the CME's Commitment of Traders report revealed that 4 or fewer traders hold 67% of all commercial short positions in silver. These are the bullion banks, the market makers who supposedly provide liquidity but are actually the most exposed to delivery demands. When a long trader stands for delivery, these shorts must either deliver metal they don't have or buy it in a market where available supply has collapsed. The concentrated short position has been a feature of the silver market for decades. It's been the subject of countless manipulation allegations, CFTC investigations that went nowhere, and conspiracy theories that mainstream analysts dismiss. But the manipulation question is less important than the mathematical question. Can 4 traders deliver against demands that their positions have created? At current open interest, the commercial shorts have obligations representing 580 million ounces. They hold, at most, 31.2 million ounces in registered inventory, plus whatever eligible inventory they control, perhaps another 50 million ounces. Their obligations exceed their holdings by 10 to 1. The shorts are naked. They've sold silver they don't have, betting that longs would never demand it. The longs are now demanding it. The collision between naked short obligations and physical delivery demands is what 420 million ounces of inventory depletion has been preparing. This is what a market looks like before it breaks. The numbers don't work. The inventory doesn't exist. The claims exceed the reality by multiples that make settlement impossible through normal market function. The resolution will take one of 2 forms. Either the exchanges intervene, forcing cash settlement, banning deliveries, changing rules to protect the shorts, and paper silver becomes explicitly worthless as a claim on metal. Or the exchanges allow the market to function, honoring delivery demands until inventory exhausts, and silver reprices to whatever level brings supply and demand into balance. The first scenario destroys confidence in paper silver permanently. Why would anyone hold a futures contract or ETF share if the exchange can simply refuse to deliver when it matters? The paper market collapses as participants flee to physical. The second scenario destroys the shorts and reprices silver to triple-digit levels. The entities that have accumulated metal outside the exchange system, the ones who withdrew 420 million ounces, become price setters. They have the silver. Everyone else has paper. Both scenarios end with much higher silver prices. The only question is whether the price increase happens through orderly market function or through the collapse of the paper system that's been suppressing price discovery for decades. Some will look at 31.2 million ounces and assume someone will supply more. We'll trust that miners will deliver, that refiners will divert inventory, that the market always finds metal when prices rise enough. We'll believe that the COMEX has operated for 50 years and has never failed to deliver. These are the same voices that said COMEX would never fall below 100 million ounces. That said below 50 million was impossible. That said depletion would reverse when prices rose. The voices have been wrong at every level. The depletion has continued through every price rise because the entities withdrawing metal aren't selling into strength. They're holding for what comes next. Others will download the COMEX warehouse data. We'll calculate the ratios. We'll notice that 847 million ounces of paper claims against 31.2 million ounces of metal is a ratio that cannot survive determined delivery demands. We'll understand that 420 million ounces don't vanish without reason, and the reason is that someone, many someones, decided physical silver was worth more than paper promises. The informed are not predicting the date of the COMEX default or the price silver will reach. Markets can remain irrational longer than any analysis suggests. What the informed recognize is that the physical foundation of the paper-silver market has been systematically removed, that the remaining inventory is insufficient to satisfy even near-term delivery demands, and that the resolution, however it arrives, favors those who hold metal over those who hold paper. This is not financial advice. This is not a recommendation to buy silver or drain your savings account or take any position based on COMEX inventory data. This is simply arithmetic. The arithmetic of claims versus supply. The arithmetic of 27-to-1 ratios and 45-day delivery windows and 420 million ounces that used to exist and now don't. The warehouse receipt says the silver is there. The data says 89% of it is gone. Somebody is going to discover their receipt is worthless. Somebody is going to demand metal that doesn't exist. Somebody is going to be the last one holding paper when the music stops. 31.2 million ounces, 847 million ounces of claims, 45 days until March delivery. The math doesn't lie. The metal doesn't lie. The only lie is the price on your screen, a price set by paper trading, disconnected from physical reality, waiting for the collision that makes the disconnection impossible to ignore. 420 million ounces vanished. The crisis isn't coming. It's here.